Nobody wants to be called weak, at least not by this world's definition. The world despises the weak and has a habit of crushing them. There is a weakness that can get you crushed, but it's a weakness that's worth having. When God visited his people on the mountain at Horeb, he did it with peals of thunder, fire from heaven, and a terrifying voice. The people panicked and asked God to come up with another way of communicating. So he did. The people didn't want thunder from heaven. They wanted someone like themselves. And so God sent them a man they could relate to. But to their dismay, this man said pretty much the same things that had been thundered from the mountain. But he also walked the streets, healing the sick, talking to fishermen, eating with sinners, weeping over the death of friends, and blessing the little children. And they didn't like that. Lex Luger once said, "I thought surrender was a weakness. Turns out, it is the strongest thing a man or a woman can ever do." That was Jesus. He came in the weakness of an ordinary man. He was tender, and they didn't like that at all. God had warned them that when he came, they must be careful to listen to him. They didn't. They wanted someone who would thunder at Rome, not Jerusalem. But Jesus wouldn't. People usually don't admire weakness. Women hate it in men, and men hate it in each other. We admire power. We admire glory. But that's not who Jesus appeared to be. There was nothing about him that was majestic or overly beautiful. He was just an ordinary-looking man. And so the people didn't listen, and they didn't like him. By this world's measure, Jesus was a weak man. The God at Horeb they could hear but not bear. God enfleshed in meekness and lowliness they would neither hear nor bear. They found the kindness and patience of Jesus intolerable. They found his apparent weakness and gentleness an insult. Jesus didn't call down fire from heaven. He healed with his hands. He didn't slay the wicked or the adulterer. He lifted them out of the pit. He didn't fight Rome, but submitted and surrendered himself to Rome's cruelty. Jesus knew what whips were for, but chose to take the lashing. He surrendered to the taunts and the torture in weakness. And when he was done, he rose from the dead. Many Christians are bothered by this kind of power, the kind of power exercised through weakness. You can see this in the many church services and concert halls that attempt to imitate the God of Horeb with strobe lights and a smoke machine. For many modern Christians, the power is not in the blood, it's in the beat. James and John were hoping he would call down a little fire from the sky, but he didn't. Jesus could call on a legion of angels, and Peter, sword in hand, might have been delighted if he had. But Jesus didn't. Jesus was crucified in weakness so that he might live forever by the power of God. This is the power we are called to share in. Power clothed in weakness.